One was incredibly boring, the other film was more entertaining than any right to be. I'm John Ridlin with a review of Amulet and Starlight. Like any multi-film review that I do, there will be spoilers throughout, and I'll tell you right now, I fucking hated Amulet. Absolutely fucking hated it. It's from first-time director Romula Gary. I hope I pronounced that right. She was in Vanity Fair, the movie, not the magazine, with Reese Witherspoon, and she's been in other stuff, so a first-time director isn't the worst thing in the world. One, everybody's got to start somewhere, and Ari Aster did Hereditary. Some people didn't like it. Some people are wrong. I kid. If you didn't like Hereditary, that's okay. But first-time directors can knock it right out of the park. Unfortunately, this movie did anything but. You remember Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter movies, the woman that played her? She's in this as a nun that takes in a man named Tomas who was in a war, is living homeless in London, and he basically is, being given rent-free, he's being given, rent-free housing and meals and everything. And there's this woman named Magda that's, that he sort of fancies, and everything seems to be going pretty good and everything. And it's everything he could dream of. And then we also get flashbacks of shit when he was homeless and also working at the most depressing toll booth checkpoint ever, where he runs into a woman that stays at his cabin, and he tells her stories and everything, but then she tries to run away and other stuff happens. This movie's fucking bad. This movie is really fucking bad. And I don't mind slow burn movies, but this was more of a standstill. And then they tried to throw some shit in at the end that they'd obviously been building to, sort of, like bit by bit. It was like they took they took pieces of paper and just kept stacking them. And just kept stacking them there, and like, oh, we have 3 pieces of paper, that's enough story building. Let's just go right to the end, and everybody will fucking care about it. Now, I'm sure some people may like this movie, and that's fine. There were some people who liked Relic. I didn't. I found it to be pretty boring and everything, and I also find this to be boring. One, the characters aren't really all that interesting. The acting is not that bad. But it's also one of those where it doesn't have much of anything to it. It tries to sound smarter than it really is, tries to be, mysterious and art house and stuff like that, and it is anything but. Basically, Tomas finds this, he finds this amulet in the woods, and that comes back to haunt him a little bit later, because it turns out, oh, he actually did something to the woman that was staying in his cabin. Yeah, it was implied. I'm not going to say what it is. Gross. But as things develop, it's very obvious that there is some sinister plot going on with this, with this woman, this nun that is taking him in, and this woman Magda. And it turns out that her mother lives upstairs. Her mother is housing some demonic presence, or some demons, some skinless bats that are in her. I'm not fucking kidding. And all this stuff turns out to basically be a plot to get Tomas ready to, birth some more demons. That's really about it. I know it seems like I'm explaining this plot badly, but really it is not a very good movie at all. It tries to build up all this suspense and everything, and has some really bad special effects at the end, where if you're going to do an art house movie and you don't have the budget for it, find a way to work around it. I am not a filmmaker. I will never claim to be one, but this was a film that tried to shoot for the stars, tried to be all smart and everything, and really wasn't. And you didn't feel any sympathy for the characters. One, Tomas should have fucking known that there was a problem here. Now, obviously, being that he had no means except a little bit of money that got tossed away because everybody's fucking evil in this movie, it was very obvious that he should have run away way before he did, and he didn't, and he kept coming back because he loved this woman, but then he ends up giving birth to a whole bunch of demons as things end. This movie's fucking terrible. It's fucking goddamn terrible. It gets a fucking F. Amulet gets an F. It's so fucking bad. Now let's move on to something that was far more entertaining than I thought it would be. Starlight. And I will say right now, the Scout Taylor Compton is an absolute goddess. She is fucking beautiful. And I've loved her since the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. And thought she was good in those. But I was like, okay, what else can she do? How can she continue her career? She's been in other stuff since. But fucking hell, she plays a pop star named BB. That the main character Dylan absolutely loves. He loves listening to her music. He kind of has a troubled life and everything. The movie does, however, open with, after a little bit, this girl runs to this van, and oh no, what the fuck is going on? And this guy's wondering what's happening. And one of the first lines said is, they're dead. They're all dead. And I'm like, I'm gonna love this. It reminds me of We Summon the Darkness. It doesn't take itself so fucking seriously. That's what I love about this. There's nothing wrong with having a movie that is more fun than, trying to reinvent the wheel. And it is a basic horror movie with a few monsters, and it's a cheap cash grab if you really want to get down to it. And it also kind of reminds me a bit of Tales from the Crypt Demon Night with Billy Zane outside of a house and everything trying to get in. I don't know why it reminded me of that, but one of the villains does. But to back up the plot just a little bit, so you got Dylan. He has a troubled life. His mother has met somebody new. This preacher who's very, very overbearing. There are character arcs that go from like 0 to fucking 60, and it's fucking hilarious. It's more of a comedy than anything else. And he's got all his friends there at this party. He goes out drinking. And then one night, or that same night, he goes home. He's skateboarding and everything, still listening to the music. And he runs his phone battery down. And then suddenly a woman runs into him. What the fuck is going on? Oh, it turns out that it's this pop star, BB, played by Scout Taylor Compton. And from there, we basically get him taking the girl, taking her to, a nearby house. Character, well, just basically, one of the characters that ends up getting offed in the movie. But he's got this house, his dad's away for the weekend, all the normal cliches and everything, and they're trying to figure out why this girl's there. And also there's this character of Anton that's her manager, so to speak, but also he's clearly an evil person because he has glowy eyes and everything and can possess people and make them do things and bleed from the ear. And again, it reminds me of We Summon the Darkness because that movie shouldn't have worked like it did. And it did. This also reminds me, tone-wise, a bit of Color Out of Space, except I like that one a whole lot more because it was just way more bonkers. But with this, you have a guy that is clearly the fucking evilest person in the world, and then you have this girl, this pop star, that doesn't want to get near him, but she has these weird powers and everything. She's obviously some kind of creature. And then there's also this weird demonic demon woman that happens, or demonic man, or whatever the fuck it is, that happens to be living in the trunk of this car that they have. I mean, what the fuck else could you want out of this goddamn movie? It has a guy chopping a door down with an axe, and then it has a hot blonde woman, Chandler Rochelle, in her first role. She plays the character of Sarah. Actually, I think as far as like acting like a villain, everything, acting like a bitch and acting like a villain, she's got a bright future. But there are just so many one-dimensional characters, but everybody seems to be having fun with it. It is by no means a great movie. You do have the usual cliches of, oh, don't go in there, oh, the power gets cut out, and you got people doing stupid shit to advance the plot. But once again, it's entertaining. This is exactly what I want out of a horror movie. It doesn't take itself too fucking seriously. And BB and Dylan fall for each other. It turns out that she makes a deal with this guy Anton, like, don't kill him. You killed everybody else, but don't kill him. And also he's got followers all over the goddamn place because everybody seems to be bleeding from the ears because he's taking over everybody in this small town to get his girl back. Because she's a pop star and spreading the love of pop music and everything. And actually, that's kind of the funny thing that ties to We Summon the Darkness. That was about heavy metal music being evil. This is about pop music having an evil intention. And it's just so fun. It's so fun. It's not great. Near the end, her and this character Dylan fuck in the woods. No, really. And she makes this deal. Don't kill him. Don't do that. But oh no, there's this crazy thing that happened because it turns out she's pregnant. And he has powers. He got powers from her, kind of like Jennifer's body. Remember the end of that when Amanda Seyfried or Seyfried, however the fuck you say it, had powers and they never made a sequel to it, and I fucking hated that they didn't. That's what it kind of reminded me of. It's not a great movie if you really break it down, but it's fucking entertaining. I'm giving it an A- for the entertainment. This was really fucking good, just for entertainment-wise. The gore effects are they actually aren't that bad. The special effects are here and there because it's a cheap movie. And the acting's decent for the movie that it is. But I'm definitely giving it an A-. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlam. I'll see you soon.